So scientists working in the Caribbean, they found something really pretty remarkable. It seems the Dominican Republic holds these genetic secrets that, well, they could actually rewrite parts of how we understand human history.
Wow. Okay.
And it's not just, about tracing where your ancestors came from. It's a deeper story. Resilience, survival, and yeah, there's some controversy mixed in too.
Right.
So the big question we're diving into is, why are the genes of the Dominican Republic considered so, well, special? Let's unpack this a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's so compelling here, I think, is that this isn't just data. It's like a living biological record of these huge historical shifts.
A living record. I like that.
Exactly. I mean, for more than 500 years, the Dominican Republic has been this incredible meeting point for different cultures. It makes the DNA itself this vibrant genetic mosaic.
So what does that mosaic look like, roughly?
Well, on average, studies are showing Dominicans carry something like 52% European, about 40% African, and maybe 8% indigenous Taíno genetic ancestry.
8% Taíno. That's significant.
It is. It makes it one of the most genetically diverse places in the Americas, really. So our mission today is to kind of peel back these layers, the history, the identity questions, the health implications, and yes, the debates that this unique genetic story kicks up.
Okay, let's start with something that really struck me, that Taíno percentage you mentioned. For generations, the common story was that the indigenous Taíno people of the Caribbean basically vanished after colonization.
Right. That was the prevailing narrative for a long time.
But the science, the genetic evidence, it tells a much more, well, complex story, doesn't it?
It really does. Groundbreaking genetic work has actually proven that narrative wrong. Scientists found that up to 15%, even higher, in some studies of Dominican mitochondrial DNA.
Okay, explain mitochondrial DNA quickly.
Sure. It's the genetic material you inherit directly from your mother, passed down the maternal line. And finding that much Taíno ancestry there, it's not just a small detail.
No, it sounds huge.
It means the Taíno live on, genetically speaking. It completely shatters that old assumption that they were completely wiped out. So you have to ask, how has that finding reshaped how Dominicans see their own identity, their own history? It's profound.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's like discovering a whole branch of your family tree you thought was gone.
Exactly. And this genetic mix, it's not just numbers on a page, right? It's like a biological testament to everything that happened, colonization, forced migration, but also incredible human survival.
And does this connect to, say, health? Does this diversity have biological implications beyond ancestry?
Oh, definitely. It naturally leads into some fascinating insights about health and adaptation. For instance, researchers are now looking at whether this extensive genetic diversity might actually contribute to health resilience in the Dominican population.
How so?
Well, one example is finding certain gene variants, tiny differences in the genetic code that originally came from African populations. And some of these seem to be linked to lower susceptibility to malaria, which is obviously important in tropical environments. And beyond specific diseases, this unique blend of indigenous, European, and African genes, it can influence all sorts of things, how people metabolize certain drugs, maybe their predisposition to some chronic conditions.
So it points towards needing more personalized medicine.
Precisely. It really highlights a critical need for that kind of research in the Caribbean. A one-size-fits-all medical approach. It might just be far less effective there because of this unique genetic background.
That's a really powerful point, connecting genetics right back to, well, everyday health outcomes. But you mentioned controversy earlier. These findings haven't landed smoothly everywhere, have they?
No, not at all. There's definitely a significant vein of controversy running through this research.
What are the main criticisms? What are people arguing about?
It's kind of multi-layered. So some critics worry that focusing too much on genetics to define what it means to be Dominican could actually make racial divisions worse. Especially in a society that already struggles with colorism. This preference for lighter skin tones, it's a really deep-seated legacy from colonial times, and it still causes discrimination and social tension.
Right.
So when genetic studies start talking about percentages of European versus African versus indigenous ancestry, even if unintentionally, it can touch those really sensitive social nerves.
I see. That makes sense.
What else? Then you have these really crucial ethical questions, especially around collecting the genetic data itself, particularly when it involves indigenous heritage. Like, who actually owns this genetic information?
Good question.
Should big pharmaceutical companies be able to profit from discoveries made using the unique genetic makeup of these populations? These aren't simple yes or no questions. There's a lot to unpack there.
And politically.
Yeah.
Has this debate spilled over into politics? It sounds like it would.
Oh, absolutely. Politically, yeah, it's been pretty heated at times. On one side, you might hear some nationalist perspectives worrying that putting maybe too much emphasis on African ancestry could somehow undermine a unified Dominican identity.
Okay.
But then on the other side, you have many, many Dominicans who completely embrace this research. They see it as a source of, well, immense pride. It validates the survival of their Taíno ancestors. It celebrates the incredibly rich, complex tapestry that is their heritage.
It really cuts both ways.
It really does. It just underscores that the Dominican gene, it's not just a scientific curiosity. It's deeply tangled up with politics, culture, and how people see themselves, their personal identity.
It's clear then, the Caribbean being this sort of historical crossroads for human movement, it must hold vital clues for understanding how people migrated across oceans and continents.
Right. Absolutely.
So for the scientists looking at the big picture, global human population genetics, what does understanding the Dominican Republic's specific genetic story add to that larger puzzle?
It adds a really crucial piece, a vital piece, actually. And what's truly striking, maybe even a bit shocking, is how little focus this region has received genetically.
Really, how little?
Get this. Only about 0.3% of all global genetic studies currently include Caribbean populations.
Wow, that low.
Yeah. Compare that to the huge number of studies focused on European or North American populations. It's a massive gap.
So we're just scratching the surface.
Exactly. This huge research gap means we're really just beginning to grasp the full importance of this region's genetic story. It holds keys not just to the unique history of the Caribbean, but also to these broader patterns of human migration, adaptation, survival all over the world.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. What makes the Dominican Republic's genetic story so special then? What's the core takeaway? It feels like it's a living mirror of history, like you said, a profound story of survival, and definitely a spark for these vital conversations about identity, heritage, and even exploitation. We've seen how the science confirmed that Taíno people didn't just vanish. Their legacy is right there in the mitochondrial DNA, a significant chunk of it. We've touched on the potential for real health breakthroughs, from understanding disease resistance to tailoring medicine. Personalized medicine right there.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't ignore the complex ethical and political debates these discoveries inevitably stir up.
And if you zoom out, think about the broader impact. Understanding the Dominican Republic's genetic landscape, it adds this indispensable chapter to the whole human story.
How so?
It helps us trace, really meticulously, how different groups of people came together, adapted, survived in this region that was and is a true global crossroads for genes.
Yeah.
And given how incredibly underrepresented Caribbean populations are in genetic research overall, these studies aren't just filling a scientific gap. They're genuinely unlocking a deeper understanding of human diversity, human resilience, on a planetary scale. It's pretty fundamental stuff.
It really is. It leaves us with a big question for you, the listener, to think about. What do you think? Should genetics play a major role in shaping how Dominicans perceive themselves? Or perhaps it's more important to focus on culture, on lived experience when it comes to defining identity, something to mull over?